Happy Friday, everyone. Nope.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, howdy. Did I enable? Oh, no, I did not. Here we go. Here's John. How's everyone doing today? It is so nice to be back home and be using my own computer. I tell you, especially when doing all this live streaming stuff where I'm launching a lot of different things.
With your hotkeys, right? Your scripts. You don't know what you have until you don't have it any longer.
Yeah. It was painful. I need to rethink a little bit how I have stuff organized, because on my dad's computer, you can do selective download with Dropbox, which is convenient, but there's a lot of other stuff on some of the things that I didn't want to download just because gigs and gigs of data, and I'm like, oh, so maybe I should restructure more like scripts and stuff, and then
the videos and stuff. Yeah, videos particularly into a different folder. Yes. So how's everybody doing? Does anybody have any question today that we can help with?
I have one. Oh, no, wait a minute. That's
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, John. So, John, we had a call with a hero client over where, well, his native language is French, right? Isaias is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think he's in the Netherlands, maybe, or I forget where. But it was really interesting, the little problem we had getting the active window and getting it to activate Chrome.
Yes.
And it's a good lesson to learn, because we were taught, Isaias and I both, native, just go like, you know what, when you can copy and paste something, it's almost always worth it, instead of retyping something yourself, because just either your fat finger or something, or like in this case, it turns out there was a invisible character that was, we couldn't see, and it wasn't a space, and we don't even know. Did we ever? You
What
said
it
have
is.
it, Isaias? Like,
I do have it. Yeah, I do have it on the script. But the funny thing is that it didn't. It is something that I couldn't even guess that it was there, and we are surprised that something like Google has that, because it was a Google page.
Right.
We were wondering, John, if we could give it a test on your end, that you have a French layout, but the problem is that is the Google Contacts page, and probably, I don't know if you have a page that is not right. Exactly. So, but at some point we're going to try it on a French computer and see what happens. But let me share my screen real quick and show you guys what the heck I'm talking about. So, funny thing, let's open up the code. Yeah, that's the outline of the course that we're finishing up, finally. So we have this script, and it was very simple. Part of it, and there's two things that we wanted to talk about that, but we're going to talk about it on the hero group when we have a little bit more time. But here, there's a section of the script that, let me make this a little bigger way. There are three lines of code here. And what they do is, one of them opens up a page, which is what I mentioned, the Google Contacts page. And I was waiting for the page Google Space Contacts. And that worked on my computer. I gave the script to Joe, and in his computer it worked. And I would say 90% of the people here, if I give them the script, it should work just fine, because it is Google Space Contacts.
Yeah.
But in the other guy's computer, there is a character there that is not a space. I don't know what it is, so we can
ASCII code.
Well, it is a Unicode.
A0.
Right. It is a Unicode that is called a non-break
non-break
space.
space.
Right. So this non-break space, it is actually also a space, but it is a special space.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, in his computer or in his region or language, Google has that instead of a normal space.
And what part of the Google contact page do you look at? Is it the title code or
Right,
something visible on screen? Or
let me allow me just 1 second, because I do have an account that doesn't have any contacts in it. So let me just load that up real quick. I will show you where I was. So here we go. So this is the page that I was targeting. And this is just the Google contacts page. Exactly when you type contacts.google.com, it lands on this page.
yeah.
And when you go ahead and open Windows Spy, this is what you get, right? And I copied from here, and this is something that we always want. We mentioned this, especially when you're targeting Windows or doing stuff like that. Just copy paste instead of typing it out, because it reduces the errors and stuff like that. I copied pasted from here. When I gave the code to the client, in his computer, he was getting the message box saying, hey, could not open the browser. So because it timed out, so it couldn't find it. When I said, oh, let's check on his computer, we opened Windows Spy, and Windows Spy in here, it was showing up exactly like that. So, but Joe said, hey, just copy paste it just in case. So I went ahead, those kind of things that you assume are obvious. This is obvious. It looks like a space. When I pasted it in Google and VS Code, and this is another reason why to have an editor that helps you. Some editors will not show that. For example, if I pasted in Notepad, if I went ahead and paste that in Notepad, you will not notice the difference. So if I copy, I paste, you will not notice that. You will think that that's a space. And that's exactly how it looked like on his end. I had it like this. That's what it looked like. For anybody, that's a space right there, but it is not. So when I pasted it, right away, the editor highlighted that and say, hey, there's an invisible character there. And I said, oh, that's the problem. As soon as I copy it from his Windows Spy and pasted it on my editor, the script started working right away. So this is something that everybody should.
I just copied this title from, and we can look at the ASCII codes.
Right.
Here, I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
So let's forget about that.
I run into a similar issue where I copy something from a web page and don't realize sometimes the new line, there's no line carriage return new line. It's just one.
Right. Then the new line there.
Both. Yeah. My regex is
yeah. So this is what I pasted from the WinSpy here. Maybe I could first just look for the invisible character. So white space.
No, but I don't think that's, well, it doesn't look like a white space. You would have to have an editor that marks.
But what we can do, we can just go through the ASCII codes.
Okay, let's take a look at that. So
67 is for CONTACT.
S. Now here comes the new one.
Space is 32.
That's a 32. That's a space. That's
Google.
a space. Hold on. The space. The ASCII
space
code.
dash space. And so there's no special character, no non-breaking space.
Let me
in the title I got.
Allow me just 1 second. Let me see what that looks like. Right. So in your case, on your computer, that's a space. I just tested
a regular space. Yeah.
Well, and I can guarantee. So for anybody wondering how I can guarantee that, let me share my screen real quick. And if you're using V2, you can use the ordinance or the ordinate function, which gives you a character number. And I just put the space there. And when I message box that, it would tell me that it's 32. So whatever you have is a space. If you're using V1, the function is called CHR, like character.
No, ASC.
Oh,
ASCII.
Oh, the ASCII. Okay. So
CHR is the opposite.
Right, the opposite. Okay, yeah. So in V1, the function is called ASC, which is ASCII, right? And it gives you 32 as well. So space is 32. In the event that you put this there, I shouldn't get 32. So if I go ahead.
But I'll try some from the clipboard directly, because maybe the editor converted the non-breaking space to a regular space.
Right.
So I'll try the same thing going
right
back
now
to this here. You don't see it, but I'll just get back.
By the way, and maybe John wants to discuss his clipboard tool a little, but we thought we had a unique use for it in something we were doing. I forget what we were even working on as AS.
Right. Yeah.
But we were trying to view the clipboard because we were doing something. And then he's like, no, my clipboard replaces the line return new line, automatically. So you can see it with characters. And it was funny.
Right. Now, notice, I don't know if you guys can still see my screen. You have this that looks like a space and this that is actually a space. So you get two different characters here. You get in 194 and 32. So those are two different characters, even though they look the same. For whatever reason, now it looks like on your end, you do have probably the French language as the default, the region. For whatever reason, in his computer, that's what he gets.
Yeah. I just tested by checking the ASCII code directly from the clipboard. And I got the same thing. So I was just wondering if it was because when I pasted to site, that site could convert
it. Right.
Yeah, so that's not the case. So the only thing it would be that Windows Spy would not report the same, report the exact title.
Reason,
so I would have to go to the This comes. Is it the title code, HTML code that gives you that, or no? That's
no. It was the Windows Spy tool. So I went to the Windows Spy.
It's the GUI, the window title.
Right. Yeah, the visible one.
So something specific to his setup. So.
That's correct, and that's the thing. Whenever we talk about automating or creating programs that will be run on other people's computers,
you never know.
This is the type of thing that you're going to find out, and I have no idea why in his computer is like that, but yeah, that's how it is. So I think for anybody who is coding and is going to create something for somebody else, always try to test it in the target machine. So he's going to use it on his computer. Okay, so let's test it on your computer and see how it works.
Yeah, that's good when you do it for one person, but when you do it for large audience, when you sell your software or something like that or distribute, it's
That is correct. That is
160 is the hexadecimal code probably for 194.
Yeah, because
I'm looking at the chat.
Yeah, me too. Hubert said that 160 is a different number than 184, but I think it is the type of hexadecimal number that you're getting back.
160 is hexadecimal. Yeah.
So yeah, anybody else has any questions? Hi, Tom.
I like the swag there, Azaziel.
Yeah, it's looking good, eh? So yeah.
So the URL over my head, by the way, is the tool that Jean is. You're still beta testing, right, Sean?
Getting closer to the version 1.
Oh, I was gonna say something. I think I'm not sure if you're aware of this or if you made it like that on purpose, but when you click on download your tool, so I go to the page to download, it takes me to a forum page. So the download button takes me to the forum, and in the forum I have to find the post to then get a link to the download. Right?
Didn't I change it?
Oh, I'm not sure if you changed it already, but at that time when last time when you mentioned it, I was like, okay, that's not.
No, in the first stage of the beta release, I wanted the user to go to the beta page, the forum page.
But it didn't take you to the bottom page anyways. It takes you to the main page. But now I hope.
No, I changed it. So now if you go to download on the website, so I don't know what link exactly
let me
put under his shortcut, but
Yeah.
No, but it's not for him. It's not on his page. I'm talking about the quick access pop-up.
Yeah.
On this page, where it says download the latest, even though it takes.
Okay, but if you click on download, yeah, okay, I will change it.
No, so
But
it should probably
yeah.
link directly to this.
I changed it on the main menu. If you look at the
Right.
menu bar at the top of the website and
Uh-huh.
click download, so it takes you directly to
This page.
So,
Yeah.
I would just change the link below. I didn't notice it.
Right, exactly. So that's why I mentioned it, because maybe you didn't notice.
By the way, that little exchange there, it's one of the most important things I can tell you. I'm amazed when people will tell me on the Automator, hey, by the way, did you know like this link doesn't work? And I'm like, I had no clue. Like, you know, report issues when you find them, because most people, we're just, you know, we don't go test our own pages. We're not a big company.
Right.
So, very helpful to get feedback from people of like, hey, this doesn't work.
Yeah, we find it a year later.
Oh,
I have a lot of videos.
A very long
where-
time after.
Yeah, I have a lot of videos where I'll link to something as simple as like paste bin,
Uh-huh.
and it'll be like a year later. They're like, oh, the link doesn't work. And one thing I've learned, just to help you guys out too, is something as simple as pasteban is banned in a lot of countries, actually. Turkey, for example, I've realized, because I'll have a lot of people who will be like, oh, your link doesn't work, and it works perfectly for me. And I'm like, by chance, are you in the Middle East or like Turkey or something? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, you got to use like VPN or something to switch your country up, because for some odd reason, Pastebin is banned in your country.
Yeah, because they don't like anything that allows you to share text,
without them
stuff.
seeing. Yeah.
Now, here's the other thing. I see a question here from Anthony saying, is there a way to pull all text in a separate file and have ASCII access that remote data in order to format the output? For example, I put my name in a file, but I want ASCII scripts to output the first name, last name, or so for example, if I have a file that just have my full name and then split that into first name and last name, yes, that is totally doable. Let me go ahead and share my screen and show you how easy that is done. The only thing is, now you're dealing with manipulating text. So there's a few things that you have to manually do yourself. So let's go ahead and create a new text.
It's about half of what we do with programs, by the way.
Basically,
much more often than you'd think.
Some files. So I just got a file created here. I'm going to go ahead and add my name. Now save that. And now it is just as simple as working with file read. So I'm going to have my data. I'm going to use the file read method, and I'm going to paste a desktop. And then I'm going to put here some file.txt, and that would read the file into a variable. Now, if it's just a one line, what I'm showing is very simple. If it is a multi-line file that has a lot of text or whatever, you will have to manually find the text that you want and split it. In this case, as an example, data now is going to have my full name, right? Now I can just go ahead and say first name equals string split, and I'm going to say data.
Anthony, are you in V2 or V1? He's still in V1, so maybe you should,
all right,
just to help him.
All
I
right,
mean,
yeah.
I know there's not a huge difference, but
Yeah, I'm gonna show you how it looks like, and then I'm just gonna convert it in there. So F name,
Yep.
And then I'm gonna make a pipe here, and then L name. So now when I run this, I will get my first name, a pipe, and my last name. So I successfully split the name into both. You can do the same in V1. It's not that difficult, not that different. So let's comment that out, and then let's say file read. In this case, I would have the data variable there, then the let me make it a desktop, and then some file txt, and then everything else is just the same.
And then just for fun, show how you can use the dot notation without actually saving them into variables.
Oh no. Oh well, yeah. That's exactly. So I access the number 1 and the number 2 here, but I don't have to put them in variables like this. Let's first run it and see what it looks like. Yeah, the quotation marks doesn't like them. Yeah, so this works exactly the same, but as Joe was mentioning, I don't have to even store them in a variable if I don't want to. I would just use the string split directly there. And let me make this bigger. And I don't.
So you can directly access those elements without saving it, which
right.
I'm like, it's a little thing, but boy, it's really handy.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need
often you don't really want that variable. You just want it in order to use it that time, and then it's gone. And this way you don't have to worry about it.
Like if you just want the first part of it, like the name only, yeah, why save a variable with all the information? Just have the first part and that's it, and then you just have your name, right? But basically, this is the part that I'm referring to. This string split is the manual part of what you're doing. You can get all the data, but getting the data exactly how you want it is something that you have to do yourself. You have to split your strings, you have to loop over the file, you have to do a lot of things. That's the part that might become a little bit trickier if the data that you're working with is not just a single line, for example. But yeah, depending on what your end goal is, even an ini file might be even easier, because an ini file has a key value pair, and if you just want to access one detail, then just use ini read and get that one thing instead of reading the whole file, right? All right. So you're trying V2, and I don't know if you noticed that the difference in the code that I'm sharing, it is more about how that function here at the top is structured. In V1, when you read the file, you have to specify where you're going to put the data. In V2, that's not how it works. You do it the other way around. You just say, if I read, what is the file that you want to read? And then you put it in a variable. That's the only difference between V1 and V2 in this particular case. It's just the same. Everything is the same as before. So.
And also, just to reiterate, I think most people know this, but we also don't recommend, unless you only have a couple scripts, going back and let's demo the conversion tool, Isaias.
Yeah,
the evaluator.
Right. Yeah.
We wrote, well, Irfan finished it up for us, but we had a general concept of hey, if I'm going to consider, let me finish my thought before. We're recommending, hey, if you only have a couple, maybe switch everything to V2. If you have a lot in V1, just leave them in V1 and start your new stuff in V2. Okay, back to this. So I was thinking, hey, how would I know if I want to convert a given script over or not? You know what? We could try to actually come up with a mathematical score to let us know how hard, quote unquote, hard it's going to be. Of course, it depends on your skill set and stuff.
Right.
But Irfan, I think are we done with this one now?
Let me double check. We did
remember. I know we were really close. Then he was updating.
We gave him some pointers, but I'm not really sure if he did it. But in any case, for now, I think it is good to demonstrate because it was giving us the right numbers already. So let's go ahead and get a V1 script that I'm pondering if I want to convert it. I'm going to grab a very simple script that I have here, drag and drop it, and it tells me that the weighted score for that is 330. So what it means is, it doesn't have many GUI commands, only 4, has 3 commands for the menus, doesn't have any DLL calls. It deals with 6 functions that were removed that you cannot use anymore. And it has 8 functions that have been renamed. Now, for each of them, we score them with a specific weights, some what we think is more difficult or whatever. And then in the end, we count how many lines it has and give you a kind of like total score. So 330, that looks good. And I could check on the main file, like for example, this is the main file, and it has some includes. So it includes the script object. And just by looking at it, like the main file itself is just 125, but the script object is the one that is kind of like bigger, right? So yeah, it looks like the biggest job would be this library. But now let's go ahead and take a look at a different one.
We get it where, because I know we were working on it, where you can click it, it'll open the file or jump to the file or something.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to, I told him. Now, it is analyzing this one. Let me double check because this number looks a little bit different to what I'm.
Well, there's a lot of
Oh,
lines.
no, not only that. Here we go. Yeah. So this is the line numbering that I'm expecting. It says 5,000 is the count of things that will be changed, and for the total score of 9,400. That's a script that I definitely will not be converting. So the main script is about 3,000 lines, and the others are smaller and have smaller values. So I could say, hey, the HTML help function, yeah, I can convert that to V2. The URI swap as well, I'm going to convert it. But this main script is for me too much work to convert, so I'm not going to be converting it. So yeah, when you double click on it, it opens or tries to open it in your default editor. Seems to be that there's some things not working fine there. Oh, hold on, let me see something. Maybe it's because I have to click this guy. Yeah, this is the part. That's perfect. So if this file here, when you double click, it allows you to just jump to the file right away. So I want to know, I want to convert it, just double click on it. It's going to take you there. And then you can go ahead and try and do your conversion if you feel like it. Now, another way that you can check how difficult it might be is just going ahead. If you have the S code and you have the V1 and V2, just switch the Lexer to V2, and it will start pointing out the errors that you will find. You see that? So right away you will see a lot of problems, and I could take a quick look at how many problems it detected. And yeah, this is something that it is a quick way, but it doesn't give me a score because some of those problems might look easy, but they aren't, right? So as soon as you start dealing with DLL calls and stuff like that,
GUIs,
not marking it as a problem here, but I guarantee that one line is going to take way more time to fix than any of the other lines. So that's the reason why we created the tool, because they look simple here. Oh, it doesn't have a problem. Oh yeah, it will. It's going to make your head hurt a lot. So this little tool here might be good for you to decide whether it is worth it for you to go ahead and convert a specific file or script to V2. And if you feel like the score is low enough, because the higher the score, the worse it is. Actually, we should probably put a recommendation here, like recommended, don't touch it. I think I
was going to say, we need to use it a little bit and then come up with a range of the scores of
what is a score that I wouldn't. In my case, a score of 9,000 is not going to be worth it. It's not like that big, but it's just like 3,000 lines of code. It's not worth it.
What I like about it also, though, is if I don't know a thing about DLL calls, but I'm pretty good with GUIs, I have that level of detail, right, where I can make a judgment of like, oh crap, I didn't realize that as DLLs. Never mind, not going to touch it.
Yeah, exactly. And here right away you see how many DLL calls you get. So even though hold on, I keep double clicking on it. That's not what I need to do. So this one, even though it only has 6 DLL calls, which I would be surprised if that's the case. Let me double check on that. But if my main script only has 6 DLL calls, all right, well, it's off by 2. Yeah, this doesn't count. Okay. So it is correct. Right, it is correct. It should only count 4, basically. So it is counting only 6, but those 6 DLL calls might give you way more trouble than, you know, the GUIs or something like that. So yeah.
And what we should is there some music or something going on?
Yeah, I just muted him. It's okay.
What we should also consider doing as Ace is making it maybe even adding it to that GUI of, well, maybe the weighting, you know, to be people let people change the weighting if they care to. Right.
Right.
We
Yeah,
just
I
kind of
understand.
decided, but
if we make it the first column here, like if the weight
Uh-huh.
is the first column, you can F2 or, oh, well, he disabled that, but you can F2 and change it. So maybe when you change it, it just multiplies and give you
Yeah.
the weight. Yeah.
But
That's
I just
something
think
that is not difficult to do.
Yeah. Well, but anyway, yeah. So I think this is a cool thing to be able to evaluate if you really want to mess with something or not.
Right.
Well, we'll get that ready as a download here next week.
I would be
very.
I'm actually very curious as to what does QAP looks like.
And John asked, did we cover the converting the DLL call in our V2 course?
DLL call on,
yeah, how to do DLL calls in V2.
Well, it's not we're not talking about that in the introduction to AutoHotkey. I don't think that's
no in the V1 to V2.
Oh, we mentioned it. Yes, we mentioned that there are some changes there. Yes,
but I don't think you walked through the entire process, right? I mean, it was
no, of course not. No, it's impossible. Actually, even me that I know what is going on. I actually have one I was just creating a library, an AutoHotkey library on V2 that is for taking screenshots. So I have this snipper library that I created, and it is working mainly, but there's one part of this code that is for taking, when you take a screenshot, to show your mouse cursor. And that one line is the one that has me stopped. I think I commented that right here. You see that right there? It's just one call, one DLL call right there. That's the one. And that I haven't been able to figure it out yet. And then I'm like, yeah, it has been so annoying that just that one thing is not working, and I haven't been able to figure it out. And this, I started it, I don't even know when I started this thing. If I take a look at the file in here, that was, yeah, on September last year. And I literally just kind of like gave up and said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do that right now. So DLL calls are not just that simple, and not because of AutoHotkey's language, is because DLL calls are complicated. So DLL calls are complicated, and on top of that, then V2 changes certain things of how you interact with them. So those two things together make it really complex to work with them.
Didn't you tell me, Isaias, that you thought possibly Lexicos was going to get back to that and either write a script or something to make it easier to convert them? Or I thought I remember something you saying that at some point he hinted about.
He's hinting about trying to make DLL calls a little bit easier, especially when calling functions that are native to Windows. So if it is a Windows function, for many Windows functions, you will not have to do DLL calls. You will just call them as normal functions on your script. That would be great, because that removes this issue of knowing what type of parameter you have to pass. So the script might convert those automatically for you, which removes a lot of the work. I see the chat. No, okay. Anybody else has any questions?
I put one in to you, Zayas, and the pen chanter had said something about trouble with separate button taskbars to overlay the top right of specific windows.
let's see what he means by that. So that was, where did you send it?
In
In
Telegram.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Let me double check on that. It says to overlay the top right. Hold on. Let me share my screen. Well, is he on the YouTube chat or something? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and he
well,
said he
he
wasn't
will
going to have us tackle it, but no one's else asking questions. So
right, yeah. So what I'm understanding, so you see that you can have separate,
Oh, the
task
pop-ups.
bar, right?
Yeah.
So now you have these pop-ups here, and what he wants to do is overlay something on top of that. I'm not sure what he means by the top right of the window, but just imagine that I want to change that image to something else. The biggest problem there is that its own window. Can I target it? And
Yeah, I
the
don't
quickest
think so.
way to, well, let's see, we don't know.
fair
But,
enough.
yeah. But if we go to Windows Spy, can I definitely target those guys? Well, I see here that we have task list thumbnail, but they don't. So here on the top, I see the type, but I don't have a title or anything that differentiates between two of them. So even though I can see them partly, I cannot tell them apart. I don't see any text that I could target either. So
How about with UIA?
sorry,
What about with UIA?
let's try that. So very likely, I would assume, there might be a way to access those. Windows is accessed somehow, so I would assume that's
He
a thing.
added like the title bar of Notepad's window where the minimize, maximize, close buttons are. So are you not asking for it about off of the taskbar?
Buttons, is that
Yeah,
what he
because
means?
there's a lot more documentation in that. Yeah.
Right. So, but
Yeah, and what's the goal?
that he's saying overlay. So he said overlay.
Placement
So you
of the
want to add-
hotbar would be offset to not cover those buttons up.
So if you were to open like Notepad real quick,
Do it real quick, Isaias.
fast,
That was pretty
faster.
quick. That was pretty quick.
See how you have file, edit, and stuff right there?
Here.
I think he wants to add like his own menus, but towards the right side so they don't accidentally cover up that kind of stuff.
All right.
So
I've
yeah,
noticed-
like right where your mouse is. So in like that area.
Right. Also, I've seen some other programs adding an icon right here as well. So if it is on the caption, because this is called a caption, right? If it is in here, you can definitely add windows here, right? So you can, that I know. For the
Isn't there
menus,
an old script and auto hotkey that does like the it does that.
It does the always on top. It adds
It's
kind
like
of
the drop down, like it
Right.
slides them up and down or something. Do you remember that? It's a really old script.
I don't remember.
Anyway,
that
don't
one.
worry about it.
The
I'll see
one
if
that
I
I
can find
do
it.
remember, is one that when you click on this menu here, you see this menu up here, it adds some specific additional menu items, like pin it, make it on top, move it to the right, or stuff like that. And I know that I've seen things that add items there, but here on the menu itself, you would need to get the handle of that menu. But after you get the handle, I don't know if you can add additional menus. Now, for the menu to be on the right side here, I don't even think that's possible. When you add a new menu item, they get positioned automatically and they get added from left to right. Unless you make a lot of empty items, I'm not sure how that can work. So if it is on the menu, I'm not sure that's possible. If it is on the taskbar on the caption here, yes, you can add items here. It is tricky though. You have to create your own window and then make that window a child of this taskbar, this caption, which is an advanced topic. But I would definitely suggest taking a look at that.
I've messed with this actually before in the past, and the easiest solution I came up as far as auto hotkeys goes is creating a GUI that just tracks, the position. You are going to get some flashing if you're moving your window a lot, just with the GUI updating its location. So that's what I did, and it looks pretty clean. You do get that flashing if you're constantly like, moving your window around with the GUI refreshing its location. Now with what you were saying with adding the icons, like the menu and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're using Chrome, it's actually super simple to do with some JavaScript, but that would only work in Chrome.
Right. Well,
So I don't know
it'll
where
work in
exactly
any
he's trying
web
to.
page. Right.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where he's trying to use it all.
Let me demonstrate what you just said, because maybe people do not understand exactly what you meant, but here's the thing. So I could create a GUI with a specific size with, let's say 40, height 40. And you will see this gray square there. You see it? So that gray square, let me make a border here, plus border, so you know what I'm referring to. This little square, the only thing, you see this, I just showed it. The only thing that I would have to do is calculate the X and Y position of where I'm going to put it. So if I get the X and Y position of notepad, for example, so I could get the current, so let's open up the notepad right here. Let's make this smaller, 25 by 25. And then we get position. That would be the, I think I have to put the title first. Let me go check on that real quick. Now the X and Y, so X, Y, and then I don't care about the width and height, so I don't care about those two. And then the title of the window, which would be, let's make it notepad clear. There you go. So I will get the X and Y position of the window, and from that X, I want to move it to the right. I don't know, like, let's make it 150 pixels. And the Y position of it is going to be the Y location that I have. So it's going to be at the same height. So let's have this. Let's show that. Hold on. Excellent. Oh, I know why. Because I'm not using the right quotes. Right. Now that, see, where did you put it? That is it. So I have it there. This is where it is. And let's make it so that this is an F1 hotkey. Put it right about here. Plus 150. Right. So now if I press F1. Well, the point is what I'm trying to make, and I'm not sure why twice getting the wrong X position, is that maybe it is not getting this. I know why. Is X X here plus 150. Right, because this is a variable. Come on. There we go. So you make a space right here. F1. There it goes. So now I just created this window. Let's do this. I put it again. I hit F1 and I just created the window here at the top. Can you see that? So I could definitely make a window in whatever position I want compared to a program. And then I have to make that window a child of the program that I'm referring to. The reason why you have to make it a child is so that when you move this, that window moves with it. And that is easy. You just say parent, and you just put the handle of the parent window. In this case would be WinExist notepad. That should no. So I will have to play a little bit with the parenting, but this is the part that I'm saying. You have to grab the parent window and just read a little bit about that in the GUI options. So when you're creating the GUI, you can make a GUI a child of another window. And when you make it a child, then what is going to happen is that whenever you move the parent window, the child window actually gets moved as well. So it is a very cool thing that you can do. Here it is, plus parent, I think it is, owner parent. Here's the one. I know that that's the way how you can do it, but you have to make it, there's something else that you have to do. You have to make it a specific type of window that once you do it, you can move your child window with the parent. As you move the parent, then the window moves with it. We actually did that with Thomas on the hero group. We did that for him because he was adding kind of like a, it was, how do you call those? On Word, you see the Dropbox has kind of like a plugin for Word. We were doing something similar with his tool, that whenever you opened Office, the tool was going to be kind of like locked to the Office program. And whenever you moved the Office program, that thing was moving with it. So it was a very cool thing.
I have a question about that actually, because that's interesting. I've never actually played or had to use that before. How does the redraw work with that? Like, do you get flashing, or is it a very smooth like transition where it moves?
99% is smooth unless your GUI is a little bit complicated. At that point, when your GUI is complicated, for example, if it has buttons and other things, it might get a little bit trickier to get it to work right. But if it is just a text or something, yeah, it's not, there's no problem with that one.
Okay. I just know if like sometimes GUIs can have a little bit of a redraw issue. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, but it is really good. It's actually quite interesting what you can do with it.
So, and I'll throw it into the Telegram. I'm in the hero group. This list, this was the one of these scripts that I put in YouTube and hero group. I swear one of them was one that kind of did what I was thinking about, of adding options to the caption window of doing different things. But, or at least it was somewhere right around here or something. But anyway, sorry.
No, don't worry.
Yeah, I swear I've seen something that's similar to at least adding.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me.
And it was really old. You know, it's been around for a really long time.
Yeah. So let me show you something that I was doing. And this is a V1 code. So in one of our tools, I do exactly that. So this section here, I have a GUI that is just a section by itself. Everything in here, this whole GUI, this whole thing is its own GUI. And I make it a child of the main GUI. And that makes it so that I can have a window within a window is basically what's going on. And that's totally doable with other windows as well. So whenever I do that, and I know that this is the way, so is exactly what I was doing. The parent here, I have the HWND here. That's what I was doing on my other code, plus parent, and also the HWND. And then later on, when I show it, it is just a child. The only thing is that in maybe what is going on is there is no, well, no, making it a child window makes it always on top. So yeah, that's basically, oh, I could do this. Check this out. Does anybody has any other questions? So that just in case. Any questions?
There's one in the Zoom thing about how to make your hotkeys only work in specific applications.
Context sensitive.
Right. Yeah, we can show
So
that.
like, you know, like if when active or something.
And
Is
can
that
you-
for V1 or V2?
That's yeah.
Yeah. That's a question we have to get used to asking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 'Cause
I usually, and basically
this one is pretty different. Where at least I mean it's notable.
what is not visible?
The difference in how you'd solve it, the context.
Okay. Yeah, well, yes, it is true. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So let's make it width 700, 800. Now let's go ahead and talk about F1. So we have the hotkey here, how to make it context sensitive. For V2 is just a matter of using the hot if. So there's a directive here that is called hot if, right? And then after the hot if, you can use any expression. And the most common expression would be when active. This tells it that this hotkey is only hot if the window that I wanted to work with, say, for example, Notepad, is active. In V1, it's very similar. The only thing is we have the hashtag. Let me comment this out. The hashtag would be if when active, like this, and then you put the name of the window that you want to check for. So this directive is the one that makes it be active or not active. The problem with those in V1 is that that directive only does that one thing. In V2, the directive is generalized. So not only you can say if when active Notepad, but you can say or when active, and then you can put another, another window here. So you can make any expression. That's the difference between hot if and if when active. And here you can make one. Probably you can do something with regular expressions and make or statements.
You can create a group.
Right, but in V2 is so easy because you can do the normal expressions that you're used to. It's not something different, right? But in any case, for this example, I'm just gonna make this go on like F1.
Just make sure you close that out at the end. Well, I don't know. In V2, do you have to do that?
No.
Ah, okay.
Well, I don't do it, but I think it's the same concept. So if I have a hot if,
Yeah. Do you have to put a hot if at the end?
You can definitely just go ahead and close it out like this, but I think that's optional. You don't have, well, if anything that is below, for example, any other hotkey here would also follow that directive, unless you close it before doing it. So yeah, the concept is the same. So it's good practice to always close them off, even if you don't have any other hotkeys, just to make sure that you know that from here to here, any hotkeys that you add between those two lines are going to be only active on that particular.
Because sometimes you might copy and paste it somewhere and you don't realize that you forgot part of it if you did them all in a big group. So
that's right.
Just do them individually and then you don't have to worry about it.
Right, that's right. Let me double check something real quick. Oh, yeah. So here I have two windows. They are separated, right? But there, and that's the part that I'm kind of like trying to get at. When you make the parent here, you should be able to target that. And once you do that, when you make it a child window, then it should move with the parent, but for whatever reason, I'm not sure why. I'm not able to do it this time. I will test a little bit about that. I do it in other programs, but right now I don't see it happening. So I will have
John,
to get what is going.
So and Isaiah, you probably know the answer to this as well, just because you guys are multilingual. But Jean, this is actually in the question has to do with French, so maybe you can be specific on it. So the Pragmatic said, "Hello everyone, my keyboard is set to French Canadian, and in Cite for Auto Hotkey, the letter E with the tilde, like a tilde, not a tilde, but I forget what they're called.
Like
Yeah, cute.
I think so. Yes." Over it changes it to X capital E9. Do you know how to fix this?
Capital 9.
I'll copy and paste it into the Zoom chat just so it's easy for you guys to see.
Right, that would be good.
There's an insight.
Yeah, they said Cite for Auto Hotkey.
Yeah. So there's an encoding somewhere. Maybe that's what needs to be changed. I never had this issue.
Okay.
Yeah,
So possibly
that's
just
basically
telling
what's
it,
going on.
which is one of the settings we covered. I think that was in the hero group, but how to set your both your output and your edit field to UTF-8 by default, which it should be.
Under
Right.
the file menu, there's encoding, and there
Yeah,
what I have
think
is
that's-
code page property, so I never changed it.
But yeah, it is true. So here I have the scintilla control, which is exactly the same as what Cite for Auto Hotkey has, and I can have the acute here. So the edit field is able to display it, but I had to set it to UTF-8. If I don't do it like that, it doesn't show that way.
So I'm going to copy and hopefully these come through fine in the YouTube chat. Actually, Isaiah, why don't you, since you're sharing your screen, let me throw them over to you. So this would go into your user properties file.
All right.
Jesus. Come on. And it sets the default for your main editor and your output page to be 65001, which is UTF-8.
Right.
But I'll throw them into YouTube. But you can at least because this is something you could type if you had to.
Right.
But this is something I would put in your user properties file. So if you go to what's it, tools, options, site user properties.
Yeah, you have to open up site. So let me go ahead and show you so that you would go to wherever site is or open site, the things that I don't have a hotkey for it. But if you go to options here, you will see user properties, and that's where you would have to
add that in there.
Right, you just have to copy paste it into that thing, and that would fix any encoding issues. Right.
Yeah.
I think
it'll set the default to UTF-8.
Right, it would, and UTF-8 should be able to display those characters, right? So we're going to be going to the hero calls in a few minutes. We will be discussing a few interesting things there.
Yeah, during a client call, he's a hero member also, but they wanted to do something interesting, and we discovered. So over my head, I have a webinar where we did 9 ways to web scrape with Auto Hotkey. We kind of uncovered a 10th way. It's not for advanced stuff necessarily, but for doing simple stuff, you don't need UIA, you don't need Raphidium or auto control or anything, right? Like you can do this built in for simple stuff. So we're gonna talk through that.
There you go.
Thank you all for being here.
Bye guys.
See everybody. I messaged you. Let me know a time.
Okay, sounds good.
See ya.
Bye.